Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto and Tsunade became lovers and she got pregnant part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this and comment for next part. And now let's start the fanfic. Tsunade was on her couch, the Godime Hokage's legs carefully resting on the couch arm, waiting for Naruto to come back to her home after a quick sparring with Kakashi-sensei to hone his skills more as a shinobi. Tsunade hadn't felt better for the past couple of weeks, she seemed tipsier than ever, she threw up multiple times each day, and she felt lightheaded more than often, and it wasn't the paperwork that made her feel that way. She'd probably thought sake wouldn't be the best medicine, and after a few investigations with her own body and buying a special kit, she dodged a dangerous bullet. She wouldn't be drinking sake for a long time. She then heard the sound of the door being opened and looked up to see who it was. Konnichiwa Tsunade-chan. Naruto entered her home with his usual grin. Seeing his lover sitting down on the couch, he walked towards her and leaned down to give her a quick peck on the lips. Shizune-sama said that you were going to take a few days off. Naruto caressed her cheek with his hand, still smiling, but showing small signs of concern. Tsunade sighed, when he stopped talking and looked at her, hazel brown to light blue crashing into each other. She held both of his hands. Naruto, I have something important to tell you. Tsunade started, her voice cracked softly, but she didn't think he'd noticed it. Naruto gulped. He didn't like the sound of how the Godime was speaking. He showed full concern, his hands were shaking with hers. Are you sick? No. Did anything happen to you today? No. Oh, please don't break up with me Tsunade-sama. I know I'm an idiot but I love you so much that I wanted to. Naruto then dropped on his knees, kissing her feet and grasping her leg, pleading not to go that route. No. Tsunade grunted, more loudly. She sighed and rubbed her temples together, leaning down on the couch again. I'm not going to break up with you Naruto. Even though you are an idiot, you're my light to my dark world of loneliness, and you're the only goofball that I truly have feelings for in a long time. Tsunade chuckled slightly, but then reverted back to a serious tone. He got up and sat down across from her, letting a loud breath of security. He would go crazy if he would have lost the most beautiful kunoichi in this world. He was head over heels for her and would do anything for her. Despite their relationship status as a secret, they've done everything discreetly for the past year now. No one knew their relationship, absolutely no one. It was for their safety. What would the village think? What would Sakura think? That just because he couldn't get with her he'd have to pick a woman that was old enough to be his mother, despite Tsunade's ageless beauty. Thank Kami. I thought something crazy would happen. Naruto giggled, a little bit relieved. He kissed her cheek. Now then, what other things are the problem? Naruto said, giving her his trademark grin. Tsunade looked down, her voice was shakier, she grabbed his hands. I'm pregnant. We are going to be parents. I didn't think I was fertile, and Tsunade's voice cracked. Naruto's eyes grew wide. Did he hear what he thought he just heard? Did Godime really say that? Did he really knock her out? What? Naruto blinked twice. I'm pregnant Naruto. I'm really pregnant, Tsunade said. Her breathing felt more nervous. She couldn't believe it herself. She felt more miserable when she said that. The world's strongest kunoichi was reduced to tears. This fit was more powerful than the other tears produced the moment she saw the sticks turn to 2 lines. As she sobbed, she felt something pressing against her sides, and she shifted her head between his chest. You're really pregnant? He smiled. She nodded. I took the test, and it said I was positive. The Hokage said quietly. Awesome. He cheered. We're going to be parents. Naruto giggled while wrapping his arms around her. Yeah. She blushed slightly. She was relieved at how he was taking this news, but others' concerns rose, and she felt a pit to her stomach. Why are you crying Tsunade-chan? They made eye contact with each other. I thought you weren't going to take the news in a happy way. I'm still the Hokage, how will we tell other people? The villagers look up to me, and if they found out it was you. Her words were silenced by his index finger. I don't care what other people think. We should have told them a long time ago. I love you, Tsunade. We're two consenting adults with needs and love. We're both in love with each other. I dare anyone to talk down on you or me. I'll always protect you. I'll never be upset against you ever. We're going to be parents. But what would the council? It'll take a lot of convincing. I don't care if they verbally lash at us, it will take a lot of adjusting. Naruto nodded at the older woman, but we can make this work so everybody can understand. We have to be strong, we can't let our baby come last. Oh Naruto, Tsunade went down to touch his face. Naruto chuckled and gave her a gentle kiss on the lips. One thing, how did we conceive this baby again? I kind of lost track of how many times we've done it. Naruto giggled awkwardly, rubbing his back. Tsunade glared at Naruto. You know how this happened. Tsunade blushed backquote while pouting, crossing her arms together. Several weeks ago. Flashback. Senju Tsunade was taking a shower after a long day of work and assigning missions to shinobi. It was one of her favorite activities when she got home. It was a way to calm her down and rinse the problems of the day down the drain, but it wasn't going to be any normal shower because he had invited 19-year-old Naruto over to spend the night with her after offering him to make ramen for tonight. He all of a sudden stepped into the shower, completely showing his perfectly chiseled body and muscles. Tsunade was mesmerized by his body, but what also drew her attention was the thing dangling on the lower half of his body. Naruto. Tsunade's cheeks turned crimson red. I told you to wait in the kitchen for me. She protested, covering her breasts. Naruto scoffed. It's not like this is the first time I've seen you before, Tsunade-chan. Naruto stated, kissing her lips. His member was beginning to rise as it was rubbing her thighs, and poking her womanhood, despite her status as one of the most beautiful kunoichi in all of the ninja world, was still very sensitive to her. Naruto giggled as his hands rubbed her breasts, while his lower half began to push inside her. Tsunade relented and let him continue. He began to on her perky large breasts while his member continued inside her until it finally went in. Ah! Tsunade screamed, drool coming out of the side of the Godime's mouth. You love this, Tsunade-chan. You planned all of this. You thought you could tease me by opening your door so I could hear you take a shower, and you didn't lock the door, don't lie. Naruto snickered evilly. She wanted to protest this blasphemy accusation but was silenced by his lips. Their tongues were locked in a fierce battle, only for the older woman to come out on top. Yes, you're right. Tsunade screamed in lustful ecstasy. That's what I thought. Naruto chuckled. He then spun her around, and pushed her on the wall, lifting her leg while finishing the job, thrusting in and out of her, groping her breast, and tugging on her blonde hair as a restraint. Flashback ends. Tsunade sighed. She blushed intensively. The thoughts were flowing back in her head of what they did that night. It was even made more serious when they didn't partake in eating ramen. He really was a wild animal that night. Oh, heh, heh. Naruto chuckled. He touched her belly. So that's how you were made. Rubbing it softly. Sorry for being too rough on you that night, Naruto said in an apologetic tone. Tsunade stood up and flicked his head. Baka. Tsunade rolled her eyes and smiled, heading into her room. Naruto followed her. I'm just being logical, he whined, closing the door behind him, rubbing her shoulders while kissing her cheek. Together, they were going to make it through this, no matter what the council or his fellow class might think. How will they react to the news of him knocking up one of the strongest kunoichi in the world? And look where it got us. I'm pregnant with your child, Tsunade mumbled, turning his back on him. She rubbed her temples together. Naruto sighed and walked towards her, wrapping his strong arms softly around her, careful not to hurt the baby. Are you sure you're pregnant? Naruto in a dumbfounded way said. She turned around suddenly and whipped out the tests from the pregnancy kit and shoved it in his face, the red lines indicating a positive test. Okay, sorry. Hey. Naruto chuckled nervously. Do you know how far along you are? I don't know. Several weeks since I started feeling squeezy during that time period, if I recall. The Godime said, closing her eyes trying to remember the exact time. We need to go to a doctor or something. I know you're a medical nin, but, Naruto was talking, trying to figure a solution to this, but then all of a sudden she collapsed on the bed back first covering her face, she burst into tears. What are we going to do? Tsunade cried. There were a lot of things flooding in her head, here she was. The Godime Hokage, pregnant, with Naruto Uzumaki, the love of her life, the shinobi who had a miserable childhood, neglected by all around except for a few who cared to even pay attention, the brat who wanted to become Hokage someday, but chances are slim now that this happened. Naruto rushed to her side, sat down on her bed, and grabbed one of her hands that she covered her face with. Tsunade glanced at him with an innocent angelic look. Tsunade-chan, I love you. Please, we will get through this, we just have to tell them. I know this wasn't planned since you said you thought you weren't fertile. It's okay, I've always wanted to have a kid with you. Whatever happens, happens. Naruto rubbed her hands, calming her down. It worked for the short time. She stood herself up and wiped her tears. I'm sorry, Naruto, you're right. I need to hold everything together, for both of us. The older woman stated. She then smiled lightly and wrapped her arms around him, pushing his face onto her chest that he so enjoyed. Thank you, she whispered. Naruto smiled. Happy to see the Godime in a better mood than before, Naruto then sighed heavily. I also have something to give you, Tsunade-chan. Naruto looked down and blushed, holding her right hand. Oh, what is it? Tell me. Tsunade giggled, staring at him with her gorgeous hazel eyes, feeling a little bit better. Naruto gulped. He then went down on one knee, still holding her hand. Tsunade gasped, looking down on him. He brought out a black box and opened it. Her jaw dropped. It was a yellow studded diamond ring, engraved with the words, as long as we're together. Tsunade-chan, we've been together for a year, a few months now. Every moment with you is perfect. You're the first person to understand who I am and what motivates my purpose in life. Every time I just look at you, you bring me so much joy. I can talk to you about anything on my worst days. You are beautiful. The most beautiful woman in all of the elemental nations, and you'll be a perfect mother to our children. I wouldn't want to spend the rest of my life with anyone else but you. It's been a privilege to be with you, to be able to be your husband and do everything in my power to make both of us happy. I know I'm kind of an idiot proposing to you in your bedroom, but I wanted to do this now because I've had this ring for a few months. I was just nervous about proposing to you since we're busy with missions and trying to keep the village safe. I don't know what comes tomorrow, but I know what comes now. He then looked deep into her eyes. Tsunade, will you please marry me? Tsunade was speechless. He was proposing. She paused for a moment. She knew that he was right in saying that he didn't know what the future held for both of them, but she does know she's going to give birth to their child. This was it. She would marry Naruto. She didn't know if their child will be the next Jinchuriki, but all those questions will be answered later on. Tsunade wept tears of joy. Yes, yes, Naruto Uzumaki. She stood her up and kissed him passionately. Of course I'll marry you. She shrieked. She felt like the happiest kunoichi alive. Naruto smiled back and then took her right hand and placed the band on her ring finger. It was the perfect fit. How did you get the money for this? Tsunade's eyes widened, noticing how expensive the ring looked. I had to save up a lot of money for the missions I completed that you gave me. He giggled. I got a ring too, you know. He got another silver ring and placed it on his ring finger also. Tsunade was shocked about all this. It was so sudden, but she didn't mind it at all. She wiped her tears and held both of his hands. We're going to be amazing parents. I vow to protect our child with our lives, no matter what the cost is. She said in a determined look. Yeah, guess we better tell the news to everyone about this, Naruto said, rubbing the back of his head. Tsunade nodded. She didn't know who to tell first. Maybe I'll tell Shizune, Tsunade quietly said. They could no longer hold their feelings to each other in private. they had to tell someone about their relationship. And I'll tell Kakashi, there's no chance in hell I'm telling Sakura. He muttered. She giggled and kissed him once more. Here they were now. Tsunade was engaged to the village's idiot, the idiot that loved her with all his breath. They were both trapped in each other's gazes, holding each other. It made them feel powerful. Naruto almost melted in her gaze. He wanted to touch her, feel her warmth, and smell the perfume of her blood, her skin. Tsunade just wanted to feel safe in her arms. They were going to grow old together. Despite their age difference, Naruto can catch up to Tsunade due to her ageless looks. Tsunade looked at her ring, and hugged him, happy that he proposed to her. For now, they were going to Planned Parenthood. They just hope the others can listen. Nothing was going to be accomplished with senseless accusations. The day after his proposal to Tsunade, Naruto felt like a nervous wreck. He underestimated himself on how hard it was to tell Kakashi. He walked around at a jittery pace. It felt like he had 1,000 butterflies in his stomach. How the hell was he going to tell him? Of all people, not only was in a relationship with the Godime, but he impregnated her. He knew Kakashi was cool-headed, but did he step the boundary with being with someone much older? He probably thinks it's a faster way for me to become Hokage, but that's not true. I really love her. Damn it, why does it have to be this challenging? He thought. He shoved his pillow on her face, breathing heavily on it. He was on his couch in his apartment. He had slept inside her home probably for the 100th time. He gave her a kiss goodbye as he ran off to his place. The alarm rang. It was 5 minutes before 10 in the morning. Naruto grunted. He was going to now practice with Kakashi, and then after, just confess, they could no longer keep this a secret. Was he a horrible shinobi for dating someone who was much older than him? He suddenly stood up and rubbed his eyes. He was going, now. Konnichiwa Tsunade-sama. I hope you're feeling better. Shizune smiled happily. They were in the front door of the Hokage Tower. Tsunade sent a note to her to return back to her side for work at the office. Tsunade walked towards her gingerly, keeping up the facade of happiness, but deep down, like her future husband Naruto, there were hints of anxiety on her face. Her stomach was growing, but no one noticed it yet. Yes, I'm doing fine, thank you. She replied, closing her eyes, acting as if nothing happened over the past few weeks, or even last night. I'm sorry, Naruto-kun. She thought. She hid the engagement ring in her pockets so it wouldn't alert suspicion. Her heart felt like it was going to shatter into a million pieces the moment she did that. Tsunade was busy with all the paperwork that she had to complete. She gulped. She was shaking. Her penmanship was bad. She couldn't focus on 2 tasks. It felt like something impossible to do. Shizune was right there helping her finish all the things relating to the village. She couldn't focus anymore. She needed to blurt this out. The pressure was on her. She couldn't hold it to herself. Shinzune, there's something I need to tell you. Tsunade gulped. She knew that Shizune was the only person she could trust and that she was probably the nicest, but the fear was always there in the back of her mind. Would she be disgusted about her relationship with someone much younger than her? Even though Tsunade looked like she was in her late 20s, she was actually in her 50s. Her transformation technique makes her appear so much younger. Shizune looked up from the paper she was writing and stared at Tsunade. Is anything the matter, Tsunade-sama? She whispered. She looked at her master's eyes and noticed a kind of dread she hadn't seen from the brave Godime before. Tsunade sighed. Here it goes. She needed to get this off her chest. I am dating a shinobi. You know him. Shizune narrowed her eyes in a confused way. Tsunade-sama, you're with someone. Her eyes lit up beautifully, happy to hear this news. That's amazing. Who is he? I'm surprised you would even see someone. You're just so busy with the village and. Her pupil was going on and on, but Tsunade hushed her, forgetting one important thing she forgot to mention. Actually, I'm actually going to marry him. Tsunade was finally out with it. She grabbed the ring in her pocket and placed it on her hand. What? Tsunade-sama, you're going to get married, and you never even told me about the relationship. Shizune playfully pouted. She was a bit shocked about this whole revelation. I'm so sorry, Shizune. I should have told you sooner or later. It's just that. Tsunade shook her head. Tears were about to flow out of her eyes. Shizune rushed towards the cabinet and grabbed tissues for her. She didn't like seeing her like this. She sat down near her side and patted her shoulder. He's way younger than me, and he's a part of the Konoha 12, Tsunade confessed. Shizune's jaw was about to drop on the ground. And I didn't want people to know about our relationship, because of judgment. I didn't want him to be judged because I was Hokage. He was going to be ridiculed for something he can't handle. It's not fair to him. He's already had a difficult childhood. Tsunade wiped her tears, with her pupil rubbing her shoulder. He's been through so much, and when he sees me his eyes just light up, and when I see him, I just feel so safe in his arms. Tsunade blushed lightly, thinking about all the times Naruto's arms were around her. Tsunade-sama, Shizune whispered, here let me get you some sake to calm you down. She stood up and was about to go to the cabinet. That's when all of a sudden her arm was tugged to sit down. I'm also pregnant as well. Tsunade stuttered when she said this. I'm pregnant with his child. Shizune's eyes bugged out of her eye sockets almost. Tsunade, why you're pregnant? She screamed in a shocked tone. Her heart was beating at a rapid pace hearing this news. Who would have thought this would happen to her today? What was supposed to be a productive session of work has been overshadowed by these bombshells that her master was saying, placed her hand on her mouth, trying to silence her so the others won't hear outside. Why yes, I now believe I'm several weeks pregnant. She held her stomach. She could feel a baby in her womb. That's why you've been so lightheaded. Shizune observed. Tsunade nodded. Do you know who the father is? Of course I do. Tsunade blushed. She was offended that she would ask such a question. It's Naruto. Yu Uzumaki. She sighed. It was finally out of her system. Shizune blinked twice. Naruto. She said softly. Tsunade nodded. I know that you're probably ashamed of me or something, but I just had to get it out, and he's going to tell the same thing with Kakashi, that I'm pregnant. You two were the people we could trust the most, and now since I'm pregnant, I could no longer hide this. I'm going to schedule a meeting with the Konoha Council tomorrow morning. She stopped talking. Her hands weren't wobbly anymore, and her heart slowed down. She sighed heavily, her blush disappearing. It felt good to finally tell her about the situation they were in. Tsunade was waiting calmly for her reply. Shizune looked into her eyes deeply. Tsunade-sama, if Naruto makes you happy, who am I to judge that? He's an adult now, and no longer a spoiled kid. If he makes you happy, then I'm happy, nay. She said, rubbing her shoulder. You deserve someone to be with. You two are going to make amazing parents. I just wished you could have told me sooner. Tsunade nodded. I know, I'm sorry for not telling you sooner. I just have fears about you rejecting us. Shizune laughed. Why would I do such a thing, Tsunade-sama? You deserve to have long and companionship. You deserve to have a soulmate. Her tone was genuine. Soulmate. Those two words resonated with her. She shouldn't care what people thought of Naruto and her together. All that mattered was her happiness. She nodded and pulled her into a hug. Thank you, Shinzune. You're the best student a Sannin could ever ask for. Tsunade's voice gave her goosebumps. Shinzune smiled back and enjoyed her embrace. The two continued to talk about Naruto, with Tsunade telling her all about their relationship and how long they've kept it a secret. Naruto let out a long breath. He was finished with his sparring practice with Kakashi and Sakura. Kakashi-sensei, we need to talk, Naruto asked. His whisper was as hard as iron. His eyebrow raised listening to Naruto's voice. He felt as though there was something really important for him to tell him. He noticed that he wasn't himself during the practice. He wasn't cracking jokes or being he was rather quiet and reserved. All right, Kakashi replied back. Sakura watched as he followed Naruto to the street corner, leaving her behind, without saying a word. That's pretty weird, Sakura thought. In fact, she had noticed that for the past year now, Naruto pretty much ignored her and wasn't really interested in hanging out with her like he used to. He would always have some excuse as to why, like being always tired, or just needing a break. Not even her convincing him to have ramen with her came to fruition. He just went straight home. Sakura narrowed her eyes. Now she was really interested to know what Naruto was going to tell Kakashi. She walked gingerly to the street corner where they were at, and tried to listen into their conversation. You're the first person I'm about to tell this information, Kakashi-sensei. If I don't tell you now, I'll never forgive myself. Naruto bit his lip awkwardly. Just spill it, Naruto. What's going on? His monotone voice glared. Okay, it's Lady Tsunade. Naruto blushed slightly. If it's more pay you want for missions, I know of some nice sentences you might use to convince the Godime. He shrugged. Naruto shook his head. It's not that, it's about me being with her, Naruto mumbled. He blushed slightly. Kakashi blinked his one eye twice. Sakura couldn't believe what she was hearing. He asked, not quite sure what he was saying with all that stuttering. I'm with her. She's my girlfriend. Naruto's cheeks were tomato red. Kakashi looked at Naruto for a few seconds, with the same bored expression. Naruto almost couldn't bear it. All of a sudden the Cyclops' arm touched his shoulder. Well, that's quite the news, he said, closing his eyes, with his smile concealed behind the mask. Why, you're not mad? I'm with the Godime. Naruto stated. He felt more confident as his heart slowed down. I've been with her for about a year now. We were dating. We had to meet secretly, dating and enjoying each other's company, sensei. Why would I be mad? It's your life. But I'm surprised. Weren't you trying to be with Sakura? You've always told me about you liking her. Kakashi wondered. Naruto sighed. I don't care about her anymore. I just see her as a big sister. He shrugged. I outgrew her. He said in a sincere tone. She understands what I've been through, and when we hold each other, I feel like I can't think of anything else. Naruto chuckled, rubbing the back of his head, blushing. Good for you. Kakashi smiled, nodding his head to what his pupil said. Oh, and I proposed to her last night, Naruto stated. Kakashi's eyes widened, but this wasn't the last thing that would also stun him. Naruto grabbed the ring from his pocket and placed it on his finger. She's pregnant as well, Naruto whispered, but it was loud enough for Sakura to hear. Her jaw dropped. Within a few seconds, Kakashi spoke, Naruto grasping on every word he said. Good job. Now you have to explain to everyone how you managed to knock up the Godime. Whatever happens, happens. I'll support you, and with your permission, I could be your best man. He grinned. Naruto sighed deeply. His blush covered his face and he tried to hide it with his hands. Why, yeah, this isn't going to be easy. Naruto muffled between his hands. And the council will have to get notified first, Kakashi said. Naruto nodded. He had no idea how the entire village will react, specifically the council and especially Danzo, who was the shadowy figure and head, power-hungry and stubborn. Congrats on the new kid. Hopefully, things will turn out alright. Kakashi shrugged his shoulders. Thanks, Kakashi-sensei. Naruto smiled. Sakura noticed that Naruto was turning in her direction, so she ran back the other way. Her heart was pounding with the bombshell information she just heard. Her mentor was with Naruto of all people. The same Naruto who was obsessed with her, the same brat that was annoying, and the one who couldn't stop talking about becoming Hokage. The confusion and anarchy within her mind were at its peak. What about the age difference? What about all the missed lessons that Tsunade won't give her if she's on maternity leave? This was smoothing she wasn't going to let go. She felt her mind fume. Naruto was walking in an alleyway by himself trying to get over to Tsunade's place. He looked down on the ground, wondering if he said all the right things, when all of a sudden a shuriken landed on the side of the wall he was on. You bastard! How could you do this to her? An angry female's voice was walking towards him. Naruto looked up and looked behind him. It was Sakura, who gritted her teeth. What? He rolled her eyes and she walked up to him. You know what? Why would you pick Tsunade? Out of every woman in this village, it had to be her. Now because of you, and that thing in between your legs, she's probably not going to teach me anything for more than a year. She screamed. Naruto looked at her with an angry expression. It's always about you, isn't it? It's always about your needs, you Sakura. We're both consenting adults. It's not like you've ever cared about me. It's not like you abuse me all the time, and don't think just because you're fake towards me, like trying to buy me ramen, doesn't amend anything. Tsunade is the only person who's given a shit about me, and she's twice the woman you'll ever be. We're going to have beautiful kids together and we'll grow old. I've wasted my energy on people who don't even care for me, such as yourself. Naruto gave Sakura an intimated look. Sakura gave Naruto a death stare back. She huffed her breath and turned the other way. Naruto rolled his eyes again and got out of that alley. We'll see, Sakura whispered under her breath. So how did he take the news? Tsunade asked nervously. They were both in the tub as Tsunade sat in front of Naruto as he washed her hair gently. He was okay. He was surprised but he was happy. For the both of us, he said he didn't care. He just wanted to see me happy, Naruto said. As soon as he finished washing her hair, he poked her slowly but growing belly button. Did Sakura hear this? Tsunade wondered. Yeah, for some reason, I thought that she couldn't hear our conversation. But apparently, when I was walking back here, she confronted me about it, angry and had the look of killing me. Naruto shook his head. Tsunade sighed. I'll talk to her, she'll get used to us eventually. Tsunade turned around and let Naruto tongue kiss her before saying, so Naruto-kun, what name is the baby going to have? Tsunade said, going to the other side of the tub, she was holding onto her stomach, staring directly at his blue eyes. It's obviously going to be a girl. Naruto smiled as he shrugged. Tsunade pouted. It could be a boy. She snapped back. Naruto looked at her. Oh, do you want a boy? You want a girl? Naruto replied. They stared at each other for a few seconds. Let's just pick out names then, it doesn't really matter. As long as he or she doesn't have my whiskers. Naruto whispered. Tsunade floated gently towards him. Shish, that's the best part of your idiotic face. She sighed and then smiled, shaking her head in exasperation. Let's get out of here, I'm starting to prune. Later that night, Tsunade couldn't sleep even though Naruto's big arms were around him, which would usually do the trick. She scheduled a meeting for the Konoha Council so she could reveal the news of her pregnancy. She was nervous about this, lest they accuse Naruto of doing something to her, which would call for automatic execution. It's going to be alright, he said. Suon's train of thought was cut short by Naruto, who was rubbing her checkers. You're the god, I'm my lover. We'll just walk in there and tell them everything, and this might be also a way for both of us to restore our clans. His hands rubbing her soft cheeks made her skin quiver. They'll most likely give you time off so we can be parents. Naruto. Tsunade blushed. Her eyes narrowed romantically. She leaned in, gently kissing his soft skin. The Senju queen nuzzled his neck, a soft sigh leaving her mouth. Naruto's lips kissed her forehead as they slowly drifted asleep, even though it was limited. You got this, Tsunade-sama. Naruto cheered, placing a hand on her cheek and kissing her gentle lips. They were in front doors of the council chambers, his hands gliding on her stomach, feeling their child grow inside. She nodded slowly and wrapped her arms around him. Thank you, Naruto, Tsunade grinned, brushing his head. Naruto went around the corner as she opened the door, hoping not to be found. Once the doors were closed, Naruto sneaked in and placed his ear on the door. When Tsunade walked in, everyone who had been talking stopped, showing respect for the godime. She looked around and looked at the different members that were there, the shinobi heads which had the Nara, Aburame, Hyuga, Yamanaka clans and many more. Tsunade also saw Shimura Danzo. She growled lowly at him, who tried to run against her for the Hokage title. All of them were sitting at a rectangular table. She sat down and everyone was looking at her. It was silent for several seconds when Tsunade finally spoke up. I called this meeting today because I have some news to tell all of you, Tsunade said, with a voice barely loud enough for all of them to hear. Oh, tell us the news, Godime, Shikaku said, raising his eyebrow. Other members began nodded, eager to what this was about. Tsunade sighed. She closed her eyes and just let it out. I, Tsunade Senju, the fifth Hokage, and legendary medical nin, is engaged to Naruto Uzumaki. I'm also pregnant with his child. And at that moment, she saw and heard an array of large gasps flooding the room. Naruto heard this too. His heart was beating rapidly. He thinks maybe she told them immediately. So you and Naruto. Danzo stood up. Tsunade focused her attention on him, even though she didn't care for him. Have had a relationship with each other, and now pregnant with a baby, Danzo said, his one eye staring at her. Yes, Tsunade calmly. Danzo's face was one of utter contempt. Abomination, he growled. Tsunade narrowed her eyes, her defense was already high. What was that? Tsunade muttered towards him. I said it's an abomination. Danzo stated again. He was fuming. How can you expect the council to smile when said something like that, and out of all men, the one who has the Kyuubi inside of him? With your combined powers, you can have harm laid on the village, and for what? Being with someone years your junior. And now you expect us for you to be happy with this news, Danzo reiterated. Tsunade scowled. Naruto Uzumaki is my life. You all never even care for him, think about how messed up that left him. You all pushed him aside as if he was nothing more than a used cloth. When we're both together, I feel we're both connected physically and spiritually. Tsunade declared, grabbing her ring, this is the last time I'll take it off. Tsunade placed the ring on her hand, signifying the unity and love between them. Danzo scoffed, you're the weakest Hokage in this village's hist. Danzo couldn't say his sentence. Naruto burst through the door and saw Danzo. A flood of gasps and surprise clouded the council. Tsunade saw him. She looked at his eyes, it was filled with rage. Naruto, Tsunade whispered. He looked at Danzo, and grabbed his kunai. He then flashed towards his direction and shoved him against the wall. Danzo was glaring sulfurously up at him. The Anbu bodyguards tried to get Naruto, but was stopped by Danzo, quite delighted by what he sees. What the hell is your problem? Naruto growled, kunai close to his neck. This is the Godime you're talking to, and you're shaming her like a mere child. Naruto's look emitted one of pure anger. Danzo laughed. Kill me, and show ever, Danzo whispered, getting a rise out of him. Naruto looked back, and saw everyone with a horrified expression on their face. Never had anyone seen him this angry before. Naruto glanced back and saw Tsunade. Deep sadness ghosted over Tsunade's face while she held her stomach. Naruto sighed. He regretted his actions on the sake of stability and not to destroy the chambers. He let go of Danzo and stepped back a bit. Now then, as I was saying, I myself won't bless this marriage between the Uzumaki boy and the Senju Godime. And you two having a child will spell disaster for the village, who knows? The Kyuubi might break free and attack. Danzo stated. Tsunade looked at the small murmurs of agreement in the room between the clans. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. Here, take this, and do this immediately. He grabbed Ryo out of his pocket and tossed it on the ground. Perform an abortion, before it's too late. Tsunade growled and walked towards him. She didn't want to punch him with all of the power for fear of hurting the baby inside of her. So she did the next thing, she raised her hand and slapped him. He didn't even react. Naruto stood there for a few seconds and smiled. I'm not going to abort this baby. Tsunade countered back. Just who are you to tell me how to live my life? Damn you, Danzo. I'm still the Godime. Danzo chuckled. How can one be pregnant and still lead our village? Perhaps maybe. He let out his statement quickly. I could possibly order for the arrest of Naruto for treason. Suddenly the Anbu with the cat mask grabbed Naruto from behind and held the kunai on his neck. Treason, she said confused. What treason? I wanted to be in a relationship with him. Quit being atrocious. Me atrocious? He scoffed. I'm doing what's best for the village. We can't possibly let anything happen like an attack. The chakra this child will carry will bring about a destruction worse than what happened before. We can't take any chances. The Anbus moved to surround him. The council members, for most of the time, were just shocked about these events that transpired. Naruto was flabbergasted. Why would Danzo do this? Why was no one speaking up? If you do not cooperate, we will have to use force, one of them said, grabbing his arm. Naruto growled. Tsunade noticed this. He didn't like to be pushed around. Well, I didn't do anything. This village, if they don't care about us, only caring about the politics behind everything, he lashed out at the Anbu close to him, who happened to be directly in front of him. He slammed his fist into the Anbu's face. The porcelain mask cracked into 9 different pieces, some of which cut the Anbu's face, and the demon in him started to manifest. The force of the impact sent the Anbu flying across the cafeteria, and he flew across the room and smashed through the 2 sets of smaller tables before slumping into unconsciousness. Everyone in the entire room was shocked, including Danzo. The one remaining Anbu quickly jumped on top of Naruto before he could do more. They were about to place chakra sealing handcuffs on him when all of a sudden, Tsunade couldn't take this anymore. She ran at normal speed and punched them behind their head, rending it unconsciously. Naruto smiled while standing up. He grabbed her bridal style and bolted out the window. Danzo couldn't help but chuckle at his actions. I guess that leaves me as the strongest one here, which means I get to take over as Hokage. The clan members didn't know whether to call Anbu reinforcements, or one of them chased after them, but due to Naruto's incredible speed, it was more than likely impossible to catch up to them. Danzo's chuckle can be barely heard from the members of the chambers. He was impressed by Naruto's escape and how he was able to grab the Godime, or former Godime as it was now official. Since Tsunade has escaped with the boy, I guess we no choice. He turned around to the council, his facial structure like wax, and serious to the bone to the point when some members of the council shivered. He walked towards the shattered window. That womb needs to be cleansed. No matter where they hide, we'll find them. The boy's genetic lineage combined with Tsunade's strength can cause a worldwide catastrophe. We'll chase them from the ends of the earth and kill them if we have to for the safety of the village. Danzo thought. Narrowing his one eye, he had to call more reinforcements to track them down, someone that they knew to knock some sense into the now Rouge Shinobi and his pregnant bride. Naruto was jumping from tree to tree, trying to escape from the Leaf Village as soon as possible. Word will spread like wildfire now. The Godime clenched onto Naruto's body as he went from one tree to another. Naruto, stop. Tsunade screamed. Naruto looked down and saw that Tsunade's face was red. He stopped immediately and landed softly on the ground. Still holding her tight. I feel the bee baby inside, slowly moving. Tsunade's face burning. It felt like she was about to throw up for some reason. Naruto nodded. He blushed slowly, trying to make her feel better. He reached one hand and touched Tsunade's belly. He smiled. Tsunade sighed, her face redder than usual due to him touching her pregnant stomach. The summer's late night breeze hit their faces gently. Naruto moved some of her hair off the side of her face. I knew this would happen, Naruto-kun. They could never have accepted us. We'll probably just die before we'll ever have time for me giving birth or die during the delivery. Tsunade's sobs were covered by her mouth. Tears floated down from her cheeks and onto the ground. You're my wife and the mother of our child. I'll sacrifice my life for both of us. Naruto looked down. Reality really began to set in for him. He was leaving the Leaf Village with Tsunade. This was really happening. Tsunade slowly reached around his head and kissed the man of her dreams and was ready to abandon the village with no regrets. Naruto embraced her and kissed her back, his tongue sliding in her mouth, enjoying every moment. He released his lips from hers and moved his head onto her chest. I fell in love with the most beautiful kunoichi in the world, one who's been on my side since we were together, Naruto whispered. This made Tsunade blush even more. She no longer felt lightheaded. She still was, but not in a sick kind of way. She opened her mouth to say something. Naruto. Her hands connected with his, each having their engagement rings. My life is complete now that everything has transpired. I don't care what the others say. I want this baby to be born as safely as possible, and I knew this would happen, so I secretly liquidated all my assets and cash. We have enough to last us for generations. We can live peacefully from now on. Naruto nodded, kissing her forehead. Also, I sent a secret message to the 5th Mizukage Mei. I'm hoping that she gets the message before we get there. She's reformed everything. The scenery will be beautiful for us. We'll buy some available land high in the mountains where we can live anonymously. I don't want to be Godime, I just want you, Naruto. Is this what you want? We can never go back to the village. We'll be both labeled as traitors somehow and have assassinations looming over our heads. Tsunade's hazel brown eyes gently beamed towards his. Naruto nodded. I vow to protect you with all my life and energy. Nothing will ever change that. We're the Uzumakis. Naruto grinned. Tsunade placed a kiss on his lips and told him that fate won't ever change their destinies. As they headed east towards the land of mist, Naruto carried her on her back to make sure that the journey won't injure her or the baby. As they traveled for about 20 minutes, Naruto stopped, hearing the leaves rustling. All of a sudden they were ambushed. TCH, I still can't believe this. He was that desperate to sleep with someone, including one that was old enough to be his mother. I suggest you hand over Tsunade so she can be placed in a ward. Hokage Danzo will be forgiving and might spare you death for attacking the Anbu. Sakura glared at Naruto and balled her fist. Naruto chuckled. He knew Danzo would use this to his advantage, declaring himself Hokage on the false hope of trying to get them back, but it was futile. Sakura, I'm going to say this once, leave us alone. I won't hesitate to take your life if you touch Tsunade. Naruto pulled out his kunai and waited for their attack. Sakura's eyebrows were raised. I've never seen him speak with such conviction before. The look was filled with mental toughness, vulnerability, and love mixed into one. Sakura took a step back. Naruto, we don't have to go through this. Didn't you want to become a Hokage after Tsunade? Shino said calmly. You surpassed all of us in training and grade performance. I'm surprised you're giving it all away for this. Shino said in his battle stance, his bug slowly coming out of his sleeve. This means nothing to me if Tsunade isn't with me by my side. Even if I become Hokage, it will be impossible without her there at the helm supporting both of us. Last chance. If you guys don't move, I'll splatter your blood through the trees. Naruto growled. He placed the former Godime a few feet behind her, shielding her from any attack. You're such a deuce, Naruto. All the bragging when we were kids, all that arrogance. And for what? You never were able to think things through when we were children, and the fact that you're doing this and endangering the lives of everyone here is a disgrace. Ino said, with much more venom than Sakura. Shikamaru stood there motionless, looking at Naruto. Naruto had enough of this. He quickly ran towards Ino and placed a Rasengan on the base of her stomach, knocking her onto the ground and creating a deep crater. Shikamaru was taken aback, his eyes widened. Naruto was dead serious. He was willing to kill anyone who stood before him and his lady Tsunade. Shit, the talk no jutsu isn't working. I guess I gotta do something about this. Shikamaru thought wisely. He was ready to take him down. He expanded his shadow and tried to get Naruto in his grasps. As the shadows were inching towards Naruto, Naruto slipped away and used his kunai to rush over towards Shikamaru, giving him a deep slash on his shoulder, making him scream in pain, blood splattering everywhere. As Shikamaru fell down, he grabbed his wound with his hand. He screamed in pain. Ironically, the more he held on, the more it pained him. Shikamaru! Ino yelled at the top of his lungs. Shino was in shock seeing all this unfold. Ino growled and quickly rushed to grab Tsunade in some false hope of a return. Tsunade screamed loudly. Naruto's eyes widened like a primal animal. He quickly turned around and gave Ino a quick kick to the head. She fell back. She grabbed the right side of her temple, wincing and sobbing. Sakura and Shikamaru could barely stand up. Shino was paralyzed with fear. he was able to defeat all three of them without breaking a sweat. It was best not to get in his way and just tend to the others. It wasn't cowardice, it was intelligence. Naruto grabbed Ino by the chest, his kunai dangerously close to her neck. You bastard, you really did try to kill us. I'll kill you for what you did to us, to me. You were our friend and wanted to Hokage. That thing between your legs destroyed our village's peace. Ino was ready to attack him, if only she had the strength for it. She felt so lightheaded and her head felt like it was ready to split open. I'm not going to hurt you, even though you and Sakura are both annoying. Just worry about going to the village this night safe, and I'm going to give you a specific message to Danzo when you get there. If they send anyone else to follow us, I will kill them. I won't hesitate, I won't compromise, I'll send them to the village in a casket. Naruto glared at her. Tsunade came from behind the tree to stand next to her husband, holding her stomach. I should kill you for such a feeble attempt for touching Tsunade, but unlike the council, I am merciful when I need to be. Naruto whispered. He let her down gently. I won't let anything happen to us. Danzo is the one pulling the strings. I don't care what anyone says. I stand with my husband now and forever. Leave us alone. Tsunade yelled, holding on to Naruto's hand, making him calm down. You guys are both going to be killed. Danzo won't be stopped, Shikamaru gingerly said towards Naruto. Do you guys want to die? Including you guys, you better tend to your injuries. I don't care if the entire leaf comes after us. You might bleed to death if you don't tend to your needs. Naruto pointed his kunai to all of them, signifying urgency. Tsunade got on Naruto's back as he jumped really high towards the trees, leaving all of them to their fate. She was so proud of her husband to fight them all of them for trying to bring them back to Konoha. He was willing to sacrifice everything for her and to protect their child at all costs. They needed to hurry quickly towards the hidden mist village and meet the fifth Mizukage. She needed to figure out how far along she was and check on their child's health. This was going to be a long journey, one that will test them physically and mentally. Tsunade laid on top of Naruto's back, trying to fall asleep, hoping to fight off the negativity that was Naruto fighting off his teammates for the sake of her and what type of repercussions that will happen if they were both brought back. As the Anbu rushed the injured shinobis inside the hospital, many of the nurses were shocked to see the Jonins injured severely. Sakura, Shikamaru, and Ino had been placed in separate rooms on beds. They were cut and scars all over their bodies. Kakashi walked in to see his injured student, groaning softly. Naruto must have done a number on all of you guys. He raised his eyebrow, placing his hand under his chin as if he was investigating. Yeah, he didn't hold back anything. We tried to convince him to come back, but he's too powerful and can kill any of us with a moment's notice, Sakura said, twisting her head, trying to hear the crack so it can go back to normal. Looks like I'm not really his equal, she thought, sighing deeply. Kakashi knew to prepare for the worst. He never would have expected the council to reject their relationship and abort their baby. He tried to talk to Danzo but he wouldn't listen on the grounds of safety. In Danzo's mind, Naruto the Jinchuriki and Senju Tsunade's child can unleash the nine-tailed fox, causing an outright global apocalypse if it wasn't handled correctly, just like his birth was. But he understood why Naruto doesn't care and wouldn't care, not about the safety, but because of the selfishness the council displayed. He made a threat saying if anything were to touch either of them, he'd send them straight to the afterlife. As Kakashi thought to himself, Shinzune walked towards the door, displaying a dreaded expression plastered on her face. Her godime was gone, away from the village, the one who treated her with respect and trained her to be the woman she is today. The news of Tsunade's pregnancy spread like wildfire throughout the village. The news of Naruto being the father was even more shocking. Even though Naruto was more mature and well-meaning than he was when he was younger, the villagers still had suspicions over him. Maybe this was a plot to destabilize the entire village. Maybe there's an agenda going on they didn't know about, but it wasn't that at all. Naruto was deeply in love with the former godime. Shizune sighed. There was nothing she could do. She walked towards Sakura's arms and legs and set it back in place and tried to heal her. Their injuries aren't life-threatening or critical, it's as though Naruto made sure not to damage any of their major arteries out of respect. They'll make a full recovery, but it's gonna take some time, as Shizune looked at Kakashi. He walked towards the door after hearing what she had to say. Wait, where are you going? Shizune looked at Kakashi out of nervousness. As the Cyclops shinobi turned toward Shinzune, he shook his head and had a slight tear come out of his only eye, something she had never seen before. He ignored her and just walked out of the door. As Naruto carried Tsunade on his back to the nearest village miles away from Konoha, where he knew an older woman who knew how to make ninjas disappear or to escape to certain destinations as they kept heading east to Mist Village, she was a high-ranking healer who knew Tsunade and him, even though he was supposed to make an appointment before this, but time clearly played his hand, they just had to disappear from the area as soon as possible. About 5 minutes later, he walked towards the familiar hideout house. Naruto knocked on the door in a secret code. As the door opened, he noticed 2 large 6'5" guards staring at him and a pregnant Tsunade on his back. Naruto, you didn't schedule an appointment, who's that woman on your back? One of the guards said. Naruto, exhausted, just explained everything. This is the former Godime Tsunade Senju, she's pregnant with my child. We tried to tell the Konoha Council. But it fell on deaf ears. Danzo, in particular, said our relationship was dangerous for the world's stability. Okay, I've heard enough. The guards said, just come in and lay her down at the bed in the back. Naruto headed towards the area where he was instructed with his wife and said nothing, but his presence made the guards a little nervous. Did you see his eyes? One of them whispered. Yeah, he's probably on a mission, I wouldn't want to mess with him. He whispered back. Naruto entered the warmly lit room. He placed Tsunade down on the bed, sat down on the nearest chair, and scooted towards her. She was in a deep sleep. Naruto gently reached out his hand to stroke her blonde hair. He covered herself up with the blankets. Tsunade was the only one to take a devoted and hardened Rouge shinobi like Naruto, and turn him into a gentle sweetheart who only cared for her protection. Naruto leaned towards Tsunade and pecked her cheeks. I love you with all my energy, Tsunade Uzumaki. He whispered those words as a smile crept up to her cheeks, a pink blush coming on her face. A knock came at the door. There was an older woman with soon-to-be gray hair roped into pigtails. Tsunade-chan, she's so different when her stomach is expanding, Akatsuyo said, but she's still beautiful. It's no wonder you would risk everything just to be by her as a husband, but I must ask, are you certain about all this? Once the dust settles, it's over, and you can't turn back. You didn't even schedule an appointment. As Akatsuyo said, she may be shady, but Naruto was treading in deep waters, probably being chased by the Anbu right now. I never give up on anything. What makes you think I'm going to turn myself in right now? I knew it, so what do you want me to do to help you guys? Asked Akatsuyo. Do you have a nurse or something? I want to see how far along the baby is. I think there's in around here somewhere. Akatsuyo shrugged. Good, I just hope she can have a good night's rest. She nodded and stood up. I'm just going to leave you two alone. Good night, Naruto. She said as she walked out. Naruto yawned and gingerly walked towards the bed, laying down and wrapping his strong arms around her, drifting off to sleep. The elders of the village were gathered around to talk about the latest happenings. As Danzo walked in, the whole room was silent, waiting to hear his words. He went into every detail about what Naruto and Tsunade had done. They attacked the Anbu and became inordinate to listen to reasoning. Many of the elders were shocked. Naruto Uzumaki, who had dreams of becoming Hokage, would do such a thing all because of Tsunade's protection and pregnancy. How much income did the village lose with her decision? Asked a member of the Akamichi clan. About 98 million lost, the new Hokage stated. That seemed to rile up the elders as they've never heard of such an amount taken. So how do we bring them back? One of them asks. At that moment Kakashi opened the door to the meeting. You guys can't do this, he stated, walking gingerly towards them. Danzo looked at Kakashi. I'm sorry, but Naruto deserted the village and took the Godime with him, almost destabilizing the village. Kakashi signed. Naruto is a devoted shinobi. At first I was kind of weirded out by his decision to be with her, but this is ludicrous to be chasing him and trying to find him. The Cyclops, shinobi's voice got a little louder. We know how much you care for your student, but this is diplomatic. We've decided that Naruto needs to be brought back in Tsunade so we can perform an abortion on her. Tsunade is probably 2 months down the line of her pregnancy. Danzo looked at Kakashi, waiting for his response. You can't do this, I won't allow it. He simply stated. You don't get to make that decision. Remember the duty of a shinobi, to follow every rule his superior gives him. Danzo said. He turned his back on him and faced the elders. Kakashi stared at him. He didn't know what to do. Try to find Naruto and Tsunade and protect them, stay in the village, or follow the Anbu. It was all getting too uneasy for him even though he had a calm demeanor and facial expression. It was morning time in the small house. The sun crept inside their rooms shining on the former Godime. Tsunade woke up and realized that Naruto had his arms around her this whole time. Smiling, she quickly sat up and held her stomach. After a few seconds of her moving her body, Naruto also woke up. Good morning Tsunade-chan. Naruto smiled, hugging her, and kissing her cheek, causing her to blush. He then heard a knock on the door, signaling it was Akatsuyo. Naruto let her in. I got you a nurse Tsunade-sama, so we can see how far along you are. Also here are the tickets for the boat ride that leaves in 3 hours to Mist Village. For your safety, I suggest you guys not make too much noise, and be careful. Anbu members are notoriously good at catching rogue shinobis, especially ones that are in love. She shrugged, giggling. Naruto looked at the tickets he was given and smiled. It was impressive what Akatsuyo was able to accomplish the night they were sleeping. Tsunade went and thanked Akatsuyo for everything she did for them. She nodded and told them to follow her to the nurse's offices. It took several minutes to arrive there. After Tsunade was inspected, she was now 2 months pregnant. The baby seemed normal, much to their relief. Tsunade was worried about whether or not something was wrong. After this, Naruto decided to take Tsunade to a local restaurant to restore their energy for the trip they were about to make. Naruto bought a hot bowl of spicy ramen while Tsunade decided to just eat white rice. After a few hours of relaxing and having some quiet time together, the time was here for them to board the boat to Mist Village. Thank you Akatsuyo for all your help on such short notice. The former Godime stated, smiling happily. Good luck you guys. Akatsuyo hugged both of them. Be safe on the journey. We will, Naruto promised. As they stepped on the boat, Akatsuyo waved to them. An expression of delight was plastered on her face. The large boat was comfortable for both of them. As the boat was sailing, Naruto held Tsunade's hand. We're really safe now, Naruto whispered. Tsunade nodded. Yeah, I just hope everything will be smooth sailing. She said. Pun intended, Naruto said, giving her a shit-eating grin. Tsunade, annoyed a little bit, just flicked his nose with her finger, causing him to wince. Baka, she stated. Naruto rubbed his nose. They both held each other's hand as they looked up to the sky, hoping for a smooth transition.